Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
And now it's time for your news break with Logan.
I'm Logan Claxton. This is News Break. Welcome back. Randy Pitchford, bad at close-up magic, worse at Twitter. Goodwill doesn't understand that I have a podcast to do, so I'm late. Nintendo's Christmas black market is now a thing.
That's been your news break with Logan. Hello, welcome to a Horrible Gaming Podcast. My name is Zachariah Van Sliders with Old Man Gaming. With me, as always, is
Logan, aka 9645.
And this is episode 23? 22? I can't remember. It's 22. 22. And it is a special episode today. But before we get into that, we got to get into disclaimers. As you have already figured out, neither one of us do this professionally. We don't get paid for this, so we're probably not going to go back and edit it. What you hear is what you get. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention the credits of the people who have contributed to this shit show of a show. Number one, Mark Bell. Thank you for doing the graphics at the opening and any original graphics we needed. And my brother, Nick Van Sliders. Thank you for writing and performing the song that opens the show every week. All right, so top of the show, we are going to do fan interaction as per se usual. We got one comment this week, which is to be expected. We're recording really early because of Christmas, and hey, it's the holidays, so we're not expecting to get a ton of them. Our comment is from good friend of the show and channel, Philbilly330 Phil, and the question, of course, was 2019 a good one for you? He said, for me, 2019 was a little rough due to some personal stuff and a big loss of a loved one. However, in gaming, the year has been amazing because after 7 years of waiting, the greatest series of games ever made, parentheses, fact, not opinion, came out, and BL3, he is of course referring to Borderlands 3, is glorious, even with its flaws. On a side note, he is excited for the Series X, but the look reminds him of a Windows 95 computer tower. So, now that he has commented, we are going to show everybody out there how well we reward our commenters, and we are going to go ahead and beam him directly in to the Quantum Studio. Logan, would you please beam in Philbilly330?
Beaming him in now.
Whoa, holy shit, guys. Alright, how's it going?
We are very sorry to pull you away from your dinner. We obviously see that you were just hanging out on your couch naked. We're gonna have our assistant get you like a bathrobe or something. But you commented on our show, which means you get to be on it, Phil. You get to be on it.
I've learned my lesson.
Always be clothed. No, I'm just kidding.
You'll be forced on it.
Welcome to the show, Phil. We're doing it again. We're doing Borderlands, the Borderlands episode, the sequel. We're bringing you back because it's been a big year for Borderlands 3, and a lot of stuff has happened in the last 4 months, and we figured, it's the holiday season, we're recording early, so why not devote a whole nother show to it?
Yeah.
To do that, we need our resident expert. We need Philbilly330 on the show, so welcome. Thank you for taking the time, even though, we forced you to be here with future technology.
Sure.
No problem. I'm sure every time someone hears my name, they just know that the asshole who only plays Borderlands is coming on.
If Phil's on the show, we're going to be talking about Borderlands in some capacity. It's going to happen.
Yep. I'm cool with that.
Well, that brings fan interaction basically to a close. However, we do want to throw out another question to you guys. And just to let everybody know out there, I know it doesn't give you a lot of time, but we are recording this week and next week's on Sunday, directly after the show, so it only gives you 2 days to comment, which is why we don't have a lot of fan interaction this week. But it's just due to the holidays, our recording schedule had to change just for these 2 weeks. But we're still going to ask a question, just in case you guys can answer it, and that question is, what do you guys want for Christmas? What are you hoping is under that Christmas tree? Please say a game. Don't say anything insane like a car or a box of dildos or something like that. But, like, what game do you want under the tree? What system do you want under the tree? Like, share with us. We will read your comments. You can share here or on Facebook. All right, so on this Borderlands episode, part 2, we're going to start us off by talking about the newest big release from Borderlands 3, and that would be the Moxie's heist of the handsome jackpot, if I said that mouthful correctly.
12 words. It's a fun DLC, though.
It is a fun DLC. We're going to get into that. It came out on Thursday. It is the first paid DLC for Borderlands. It has, of course, had plenty of patches, upgrades, and then some free content drops, which I very much love. But this is the first big, paid, 8-hour experience. So, Phil, you and I have both played through the whole thing. So, what is your take on it? Let's get the expert opinion first.
I thought it was great, actually. The only thing that I was missing in this was, like, but it's just me, like, I'm sure this will come with other DLC, but I was just hoping for, I'm not spoiling it, but for after the end boss to find, like, a massive, like, you know, since it was a casino, I'm like, cool, there's going to be, like, a vault room that's got just hundreds of chests to open, or, you know,
right,
bunch of chests to open, and there were some stuff to open, but I just, like, I was hoping for the, what was from Borderlands 1, the General Knox.
Yeah,
like,
the big payout at the end.
Yeah, like, huge. But I get it. They probably don't want to blow their load with the first DLC, and not every DLC has had that. So
right.
It was cool. The payoff was still good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And
let me ask you a question. Sorry, not to interrupt, but let me ask you a question. Does this one have a raid boss?
No. No, not yet.
I wasn't sure if it did, and I was wondering. I mean, I think personally they're kind of trying to transition from putting raid bosses in the DLC and the main content and just putting them into, like, takedowns.
Well, to be fair too, Zach, that, like, it's hard to remember because that was like 7 years ago, but the raid bosses didn't exist when the DLCs first dropped in BL2 either.
Well, Terra, what's his face did.
Terra, yeah, in the main story game, but like the what were the Seraph guys?
Right.
They didn't exist in the beginning, so they could always go back and plug it into this map if they wanted to.
Well, and again, I'm not counting that against this DLC, just because, like I said, I feel like they're trying to move their raid bosses into their takedowns.
Which is cool.
Which is personally the way I'd prefer they do it. But
I can.
Okay, so my take on it, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I want to say, before I say anything negative, I mean, my review of this comes out as we're recording tomorrow, but this podcast won't be out until Friday, so it'll be up after my review. So you'll have already seen my review, so a lot of the stuff I'm about to say, anybody who watched my review has already heard. But the most positive thing I want to say, I want to hammer this home. This is the best bit of writing in Borderlands 3, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
Like, the jokes hit perfectly. The action is great, and the funniness doesn't, like, the balance, I felt like they had a hard time striking a balance in the Borderlands 3 main story like they did in 2, where it was funny, but there was also, like, high stakes, you know? Like,
yeah. Dude,
whereas this time, this one kind of really felt like they nailed that for the first time in the Borderlands 3 story content.
This was the first one that actually, like, there were some side missions that had me legitimately laughing. Like,
yes.
this one side mission where I think her name was like Double Down Donna or something.
There was a couple of side missions I skipped to be able to finish it. So,
dude, you gotta do it because she's like, she has you do this thing and thinks you won't be able to achieve it. So then she doubles down on that, and like eventually you go through this thing and you do all this crap for her, and then she like decides she's gonna double down and fight you for it. You kill her. She drops an echo. That's like, if you're reading this or if you're hearing this, I'm dead, but I'm about to double down, and like the echo sends you somewhere else. Like it was so funny.
That is awesome. I have to go back and do that. On the flip side of that, there was a side quest that straight up made me tear up, and I don't think a Borderlands has ever done that.
Which one was that?
The picnic one.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about with the robot?
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to like throw it out there because I feel like that's one of the side quests that the end kind of makes you like, wow. But like, I actually was like, holy shit, that almost didn't even belong in a Borderlands, you know?
Yeah, at the beginning of that particular one, I thought you were going to end up killing the robot.
Right. I thought it was just going to be a fight like everything, but they did something really different and cool. And that was kind of like the through line of this entire DLC is like, instead of doing the easy low-hanging fruit that like they like to do, they did something different, and I really love it. And I don't want to get into spoiler territory at all, but the storyline through line of the NPCs, Timothy and Freddy, are just they're awesome. They're the best in Borderlands. Like, they're start to finish storylines.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I want to shout out to Gearbox as far as like they say, and I'm sure this is difficult, how they say with the bosses, they wanted to do, make them different rather than being bullet sponges.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some of that has come across as they have just like put immunity phases in the fights, which I don't think really solves that issue. But there was one particular boss fight that I thought was so, because the boss wasn't just one thing, it was like a horde.
Yeah.
And once you eliminated the horde, then the second health bar dropped down, and that was the one thing.
Yeah. I know the fight you're talking about, and I thought that was probably one of the best boss fights they've ever done, if not the best.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of in love with the Malawan takedown, even though I still haven't managed to actually complete the damn thing. But that boss fight was amazing. I do want to point out just a couple of negatives, since I got to. My big negative on this is I feel like it was a little lackluster on the game-changing things. Like, I thought, like, the Bloody Harvest went on too long and got really irritating with the ghosts. Everybody knows that. But it still changed the meta of the normal game, not even the game that you were playing for, like, that period of time, which is different from any other event. When you do a Destiny 2, and Logan can speak to this, when you do a Destiny 2 event, the event is relegated to just what it is, and also in the hub area, it's snowing or some shit, Yeah. Which is fine. I'm not knocking their events, but like the fact that like the Bloody Harvest event really felt like an event. The game itself changed for 2 months because of Halloween. That to me was just really cool. And then you added in their Malawan takedown, which were just like everything I want Borderlands 3 to become and be in their boss fights and the way they work. To then have Jax, which is the best content. I said that already. But just a content drop. That's my only knock on it was I think after playing it, probably not before, but after playing all three, I would rather pay for the takedown and the event than the actual content, than get the content drop for free.
I agree to some point. Like, I didn't really care for the Bloody Harvest that much. It was cool because it was totally free, and
right.
it did meta some other things to do, and I think they even know that they might have gone about that a little wrong with not being able to shut it off and it affecting it.
Mhm.
Right.
But,
Well, and if you can't shut it off, it needs to be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be 2.5 months. I think the mistake really was the 2.5 months of that everybody was sick of it and done with it by then. Like shorten the amount of challenges you have to do with it to 100% the event and just make it a shorter thing,
Yeah. Malawan Takedown now I loved because that is it still is, and probably for a while until another takedown event will be the pinnacle of the hardest content in the game.
It is.
Which for someone like me who is obsessed with min-maxing and finding builds to just be able to solo something that I'm not supposed to be able to is like the benchmark for me to be like, okay, this build is god tier, or that's where I get the fun out of the game. So I agree with that. However, I do think the story expansions are a necessity too.
Yeah.
Just to, so I guess what I'm saying is I'm okay with just this story expansion, keeping to the old system, as long as they continue to, and it seems like their plan is, we'll talk about that more later, is to continue these monthly drops, just something new to keep it shaken up.
Well, and I don't disagree with that, and I definitely think they need the content drops. I don't argue that at all. I just, all these other places, a lot of them are doing like free DLCs and whatnot. I think when you're competing with something like that, I think the way they released stuff, like if this content was the first content that had come out, like new content that had come out after the game's release, I wouldn't have these negatives at all. Because then you could move into like an event and make it cool, and then you could move into the Malawan Takedown, and it would be an escalation. I felt like you took like 3 steps up, then 1 step back, I guess. At the same time, I do agree, you need that content, you need it. I felt unfulfilled on the game mechanics addition to it. It was really just more of the same stuff, and I don't know how quite they fixed that, but I've just got to point it out when I point it out,
Yeah, fair enough.
A game really needs that content to stay alive in today's age.
Well, and I tell you what, they really doubled down on the story content of it, which I do appreciate. I don't know if I hammered it home enough in the review, so I'm doing it now. That content is great content. While I may complain that it, on the mechanical side of it, the actual play side of it, it doesn't do anything new, the actual story content is without a doubt the best story content. And some of the guns they put in are amazing. They're just fun.
Dude, some of the new legendaries that dropped have, like, I was starting to fall off because I had kind of made all these builds that, were like, it's the best I could do, and then they dropped some of these guns, and I'm thinking to myself, like, holy shit, I could make an entire build around this gun with this specific character.
And they're fun. I love the fact that they put so much, like the 2 pistols, like you got that one pistol, there's this pistol that, like, every time you reload the gun, it randomly selects modifiers for the gun. So, like, it can suddenly be full auto. It can suddenly shoot explosive bullets, which is cool in itself. But then they've got this other gun that just, it shoots bombs, and it's like a handheld rocket launcher, and it looks cool. The guns look so freaking cool in this one. Like, I was really floored by the gun design in this DLC. And that's something I didn't get a chance to talk about in my review, so I'm doing it now. Because I hadn't gotten far enough in it when I actually recorded the audio for the review. The gun design in this one is just all out. I mean, I love the gun design in Borderlands 3, but like this one, just like I didn't think they could go to that next level,
Well, yeah, and they dropped the rocket launch, the ion cannon rocket launcher, which the most powerful damage output gun in the game, so it gives you that Borderlands 2 Northfleet feeling. And for any of you Zane mains out there, I don't know if Zane
right here,
it,
old man forever.
Their new class mod for Zane, maybe Zane's still broken as a character, but with that class mod, he can keep up with any of the rest of them. It is insane because the class mod, just by shooting an enemy, a chance to proc all of his kill skills, and that's where Zane's power lies.
Yeah.
So now Zane is able to do what I'm able to do as Flack or Mose, or maybe not as much as Amara is able to do because she's still busted, but it's okay. He's definitely competent in Mayhem 4 now.
Right.
So are they having better, like a better timing on their updates with characters? Because I know when they first came out and stuff, then they kept buffing or nerfing popular characters, instead of going for the actual problem ones.
On the buffing and nerfing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I'm sure Phil knows this better than I do, but from my opinion of a guy who kind of stepped back from it a little bit and then came back to it on this DLC, I do feel like this time around, all the characters, they might not be like broken or at that high level, but like if you're a casual player like myself, they all feel viable, whereas I didn't feel like they all felt viable before.
That's I can confirm that. They're all viable now. Zane was still lacking a little bit, but they really did help him out in this DLC.
Right.
The character that's a little OP, I guess you would call it, is Amara, the Siren, but it's not the character. It's just one particular build that I'll give a shout out to him because he's awesome. This dude named Moxie, who is a Borderlands 3 YouTuber, if you think I'm nerdy about the game, he's crazier, and he had just figured out this Ricochet witch build with her, and it's just insane. But again, like that, does that mean the character's broken, or does that mean that somebody really found a way to min-max to kill it, which is what I love to do in the game too.
Well, and there's
you gotta take advantage of it.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about this game being a PvE only. Like, you're not PvPing, so it's not like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I think you should nerf it when it's just ridiculous, but at the same time, I almost feel like it's a power trip as is. Like, nerf away. Like, just make them all even. Don't make it so that, like, if I'm not playing this guy, I can't be good. Like, I had talked to Phil, the Mose build I wanted to do a straight mecha build with my Mose build. And the mecha didn't scale well. So, like, you'd get to those higher levels and you can't kill anybody with the mecha weapons. So the mecha is useless at that point. So, like, my build was building to nothing. I don't feel like that's the way anymore. Like, I feel like I could do my mecha build, which is great. I actually, after I finished this DLC with Zane, I went back to my Mose build and started playing her again and started to work on that build again, which I hadn't even thought I would ever do, you know?
They did. They fixed, it's like I was telling back when he asked me if it was fixed. The mech is now viable. Right. Is it the best build in the game? No, but that's okay. And that you got a point. Like, as long as these builds are viable and everyone can do everything to a point, then in my opinion the game's okay.
Well, and that's the thing. If it was PvP, then the metas that you're talking about, those would be the only metas. You either play that or you lose because you're up against other players. But it's PvE, so just make every build viable and it's good. It's good because then anybody can play it any way they want, you know?
Yeah, which I think the game has moved into a good direction in that sense.
Yeah, I would actually have to say I have complained about that before. I think they're doing a little bit better with that, but we definitely have to move on to another subject. All right, so our next subject, we're staying on the Borderlands, but we're we're also going to bash something that's one of my all-time favorite things to bash. So, Borderlands 3 has released on Google's Stadia. However, little interesting tidbit, it has no hot fixes, no patches, and no extra content. It is just the base game in its purest form. So, this is egregious, and I think it's more egregious on Stadia than anything else, because Stadia is the one that boasts that you don't need to update it because it already updates on their own server, that it's always the best copy. And this comes out as just the base broken model that they've been working on for 4 months.
Gotta love it.
I'll throw it out there right now. There's no point in playing that game.
Yeah, just because it's so broken?
Yeah, in every way. I mean, the only redeeming grace that Gearbox had with this game was how they supported it. So if that's not there, forget it.
Well, and I want to know the backstory behind it, because I feel like this is a fuck you from someone, whether it's from Stadia or it's from Randy Pitchford and Gearbox. I'm not sure, but somebody is giving somebody the middle finger, and I'd love to know more about that, because unfortunately, because I hate Stadia, I don't know the process on the updates. Like, the whole way it's supposed to work is the game exists on their server. So, like, you jack into it from wherever you are. So you're not playing the game on any hardware. It's in its software, its hardware, out in California or wherever. Because of that, it automatically downloads any updates or patches that the company gives it, or it's supposed to. So my biggest thing is, how does this happen? How can Stadia possibly, like, a system that boasts that you don't have to have, like, you never have to wait for the updates or the patches to upload because they're already always there, there's nothing in it.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be like a domino effect, too, because other companies really hold all the cards then.
Yeah.
So if Stadia's like, hey, we want this update, and they're like, no, we're not going to give it to you for another week, they can't really do anything about it.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, who is withholding this update? Is Gearbox being like, we're not going to update it on Stadia, we're not going to give you the updates? Or is it Stadia like, we're just going to put this game out, we don't want your updates? Like, who is screwing this up somewhere along the line? And, this just feeds into the fact that, Stadia has had an abysmal run of things lately.
I think I have a conspiracy theory on it.
Ooh, we love those, Phil. We love those.
Yeah, we love non-factual, opinion-based.
Speculation is our gravy, man.
Yes.
My guess on the situation is that, like, Stadia probably got, in the Borderlands realm anyways, maybe Stadia got with Gearbox in the beginning. Like, I'm talking maybe even like pre-launch of the game, and they came to some money agreement or whatever it might be, and then Gearbox did way better than even they anticipated, which they did. Their sales were outlandish, and they're keeping a good player base. Mm-hmm. So maybe Gearbox was like, look, we want more money, as they probably are able to, and we all know Stadia isn't doing great by any means.
No.
So they were like, we can't afford it, and Gearbox was like, fine, then we have a contract, you already paid, you got the game, but that's all you get. And said, fuck you, basically, because why stick more of their assets into a company that, as far as it's looking, is going down the tubes anyways?
Well, and I want to point something out that will help feed into this conspiracy. Technically, Google Stadia is not out yet. And this is something that people don't understand because of the botched way that Google has done this. But the Google Stadia is not technically come out until next year. The thing that you get right now for $193 is called the Founders Pack, and the Founders Pack is actually less than you're going to get next year when you just do a subscription. So it could be that conspiracy. It could also be Gearbox going, hey, you're not even out yet. We don't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
I do like the money thing because I think that could very easily like fit into it.
Yeah.
I also feel like Randy Pitchford is not above seeing how bad Stadia is doing and trending, and just being like, they're not our priority anymore. You know?
Yeah. Oh, completely.
And as much as I hate the guy as a business decision, is that even wrong? You know?
No, I hate him too, but I got to be honest, I wouldn't get on that sinking ship. I will say this, for the people who are buying this game on that system, I think it's a little bit of an injustice. Now, yeah, those guys are idiots because they bought a Stadia Founders Pack. I get that. But at the same time, not only did they buy the Founders Pack, but they paid full price for that video game. Even though it's not theirs, they get no equity. They paid full price for it, and they aren't getting anything with it. And I feel like whether it's Randy Pitchford and Gearbox or it's Google Stadia, I feel like, I mean, they bought a product and they're literally not getting the product.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it sucks.
Yeah, somebody should be giving them a rebate of some sort, because the bill of sale that they signed on for is just, I mean, right now, if I go out and I buy a Betamax VCR with a Betamax movie, the movie's going to be on that Betamax. It's going to be on Betamax, so it's fucking useless, but that movie is going to be there, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like with this game, it's not really there. Just like you said, don't even worry about playing it. It's not the game, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's what we complained about week one, essentially.
Yeah. Okay, well, that covers that, but we are going to move right into the next subject. And that next subject we're moving into is Randy Pitchford again, the man who loves to make everything harder for himself, continues to do so. Not only has he been snubbed by the Game Awards, which we'll get into that, but he has now started a Twitter battle with Phil Spencer, my personal messiah, so you know who I'm on the side of. How did he do this? He randomly decided to insult the Xbox Series X's size. In a tweet, he said, "Is Moore's Law slowing down? ? How many transistors in the Series X? ? What if Moore's Law is like the 4-minute mile? Your ambitious message for Xbox One X was inspiring, but for Series X, well, this feels more like an excuse." To which, and to explain Moore's Law is that as technology becomes more powerful, it becomes smaller. So the better your technology is, the smaller it gets.
Tell that to phones.
Well, and that's the thing. Moore's Law has slowed down. That's the whole argument, is that basically what Randy Pitchford is doing is he is arguing that the box is too big. He's basically calling him out and saying that the Series X is too big because the Xbox One X was very small. To which Phil Spencer responded, as Moore's Law slows and our perf ambitions increase, it leads to design innovation. Software innovations like VRS will also be critical. Xbox Series X rewrites the rules of a console design, and the power level should be extraordinary. And basically he's saying, fuck you, it's more powerful. Without saying that via Twitter. Here's my problem with this. I feel like Randy Pitchford has something against Xbox. And the big reason I want to bring this Twitter war up with you guys, because I know you guys are basically going to agree with me that Randy Pitchford is an idiot, right? We don't need to discuss that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. My big concern from this, though, is, and this is my conspiracy theory, this is my wild speculation, is that Gearbox is pulling away from Xbox and that they're going to start becoming a PlayStation second party. While I know right now you guys are going, that's crazy, they've announced one other game after Borderlands 3. They announced it at the Video Game Awards, and it's a PlayStation 5 exclusive. It's called Godfall. That's Gearbox's next game, and it's only on PlayStation. Now Randy Pitchford has taken to Twitter to call out Phil Spencer for no reason on the X series. Is he setting it up to walk away from Xbox, to become a second-party publisher for PlayStation? And this is my fear.
Man, that would be a terrible business decision.
Yeah, wouldn't they lose a lot of money on that?
Look,
Yeah.
it has been said quite a bit that there is a lot more money in the third party, but at the same time, it costs more money. So, like, you get this weird balancing act when you're a third-party developer. Yes, you have a potential to make more money because you can sell to 3 different systems, but at the same time, you have to make sure you develop for 3 different systems. You have to package for 3 different systems. You have to release physical copies for 3 different systems. So there's also something to be said about the stipend from the companies. A lot of the companies that Xbox has acquired, the 15 companies that they acquired in the last 2 years that are just now starting to come out with games, they acquired them because those companies don't have the money to run on their own, so Xbox comes in and gives them money to make games for their system. Do I think that Gearbox needs money? No, I don't.
Nope.
But I feel this is real. Those two factors together make me real nervous. Let me put it that way.
Man, I hope you're wrong because, number one, I have an Xbox. Number two, there's like, I pay attention to all for instance, Borderlands YouTubers, and I'd say a good third of them are running on Xbox software. You know, I just feel like while they'll have less overhead, I suppose, if they did that deal, is it going to equal the amount of money they'll lose in sales? Because I don't know if everyone would follow. Like, I would be in a tough place because I'm one of those people, because I only play a few, different games as of now. I don't have the need to own multiple consoles,
Right. I agree. I don't think it's a good business decision. I do think, despite what Randy Pitchford says outwardly, I don't think those are ever good business decisions. But behind closed doors, he usually makes good business decisions on what he's publishing and what he's doing. I mean, there's been a few exceptions, like the Duke Nukem game and Colonial Space Marines, but like, on a whole, his company makes money. He's fiscally solvent. So I don't know why he'd want to take away that revenue stream, but to release a game exclusively for PlayStation and then to call out Xbox within 2 weeks of that makes me very nervous, is my only concern. And I don't want to stir up trouble that's not there, but we're Borderlands fans. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What? We're stirring it.
Okay, well, we're Borderlands fans. If they walk away from Xbox, Borderlands 4 will not be on Xbox. But even more so, if they walk away from Xbox, if they walk away from Xbox X Series specifically, you might be missing out on DLC for Borderlands 3. Like, if you switch up to a system. You know what I mean? Like, they might cut that off. Like, they obviously can't cut off the season passes because the people have paid for that. That would be a huge, huge black eye if they did that. But we all know that Borderlands is known for releasing many DLCs after their initial 4.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose support for it the last time that last DLC comes out. And I don't understand why he would just randomly call out Phil Spencer on the Series X design specifically. Why he would do this? Like, I don't get it.
Well, to counter that is, why are millionaires like that such fucking children? I mean,
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Like, if you're wrong, Zach, and he's just doing it to be like, hey, look at my dick, then he's idiot, which we know he is. But how can you be that smart and that stupid at the same time?
Yeah, I totally agree. Like if I'm wrong and he's just doing it to doing it, it almost makes it worse. Not for us, but for just on a whole that this is the guy that's in charge of so many things that we love, you know?
Or this is as we know it, and it's in a sad state that like.
Well, and I'm gonna segue this right into the Game Awards. They got snubbed. They got snubbed hard, and they didn't even just get snubbed by the Game Awards. I don't think they got a Game Award a Game of the Year nomination by anybody other than us. Not IGN, not GameSpot. None of them nominated them. They were nominated all in like secondary know-nothing categories like multiplayer and co-op, and they didn't even win on the Game Awards. Like they didn't even win it. They lost it to some bullshit game. I personally think that's wrong. And I think the reason they did it is wrong, but I think the reason they did it is because of the shady way they released the review copy.
Yeah, I can agree with that. What sucks about it, though, is, like, it's still a good game, obviously.
Yeah.
And there's still so many people that work so hard on that game. I mean, it has so much support, like, from the devs that it really impresses me. Like, no other Borderlands game has had this many, like, hot fixes and patches in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And I feel for the guys that worked their asses off to do this, to get shit on because of a childish, like, screw you, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree that, you know, there are people who are putting, 60, 80 hours of work into this game a week, and they don't get the respect or, acknowledgement that they deserve because the people above them are children. And I agree. Personally, I don't think any of this shit should factor in. The review copy shouldn't factor in. None of that should factor in. What should factor in is what's the best game. Period.
Yep.
What are the best games that came out this year? And anybody who can look me in the eye and tell me that Borderlands 3 was not one of the best games that came out in 2019, I'll call them a liar because that's what they are.
Actually, though, I'm not even like a fan of the game, except for even I can acknowledge how good it is. I'm like, yeah, that's a good game.
Right. Exactly. Like, that should have been nominated.
Also, Death Stranding got nominated. I just want to point that out.
It didn't win, though. It didn't win.
It got nominated, though. That got nominated, and Borderlands barely got nominated. It got nominated for one thing.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think that it should have gotten snubbed. I really feel like it got snubbed because of some petty bullshit. Because the people who decide who nominates, one thing that's very smart about how the Game Awards do things is they get a committee together of all the popular media outlets, then they take into account player and fan reaction to games. So, like, one thing that comes into it is, like, that's great because one person isn't picking them all,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the same time, though, Randy Pitchford burned all of them with the way he did this review copy. So literally all of them took it personal and snubbed the Borderlands 3, which is wrong. I'm not saying it's not. But at the same time, man, Randy Pitchford just, to spite his own face, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and even what's sad about it is, like, they've even been making a conscious effort to keep him out of the media as far as, like, attached to Borderlands 3, but he still finds a way to, like, weasel in on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah. He manages to get up there and say some stupid crap, and it's just ridiculous.
Like, if you watch the Borderlands show and stuff like that, they don't have him on, really. They have, like, whoever's directly related to whatever they're talking about, like, whether it be the head of DLC or
Yeah. I can't remember his name. I know who you're talking about. He's the cool guy behind it that was at all of the conferences with Randy. I know what you mean, and I love that when, like, the Borderlands show doesn't even, like, say that Randy Pitchford has anything to do with it. Okay.
Which I think is smart, but he finds a way to weasel in.
Okay. All right, so that brings us to the end of the show. We're not doing anything super crazy at the end of this show, but since it's Borderlands 2 and we're reviewing how Borderlands is doing, we're going to give the Borderlands a letter grade from each of us. And this is going to be really interesting because Logan doesn't really play. He's only got the peripheral and the news stories and what he hears about on this to give that letter grade. Myself, I would call myself a casual player. I'm a deep casual player, but a casual player. And then, of course, Phil, a professional Borderlands player. And no matter how much you want us to not say you're a professional Borderlands player, I personally know you have made money on it. You're a Borderlands player. So, we're going to start with the most casual. Logan, your letter grade, give us why.
Letter grade, I'm going to give it an A-, because I think that it is a fantastic game. But the only reason that I added the minus in is the fact that when it first came out, it did like a huge thing with Fortnite. It did a whole event with Fortnite, like the collaboration. Okay. And I'm not huge on Fortnite, but it was a really nice collab, and it gave them a lot of notability. And people were looking at it. And then when they dropped the first DLC, they didn't do anything like that with like another game or like something like that, like another collaboration where it gets their name out there more. And this DLC dropped like a huge bang.
That's fair. Like it's a missed opportunity. I get it.
I felt like they could have done a lot more with that, so I'm giving them an A-.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Since I am in between you, the most casual, and the most hardcorest of hardcore pro players, Philbilly, I am going to give my letter grade second, so we can end with the big dog. I'm actually going to give mine a little bit low. I actually thought you were going to be lower, Logan, so I'm going to look like an asshole. But I'm going to give a B+ to the game.
It usually happens.
You do usually make me look like an asshole, at least once. No matter how much I research and plan, and you just show up in a shirt you picked up off the ground, I look like the asshole. So my B+, I actually was ready to give this one a C-, but this DLC just like brought me back in so furiously. Like I said, like I finished this DLC and I immediately started to go back to one of my other characters to play through it again because I feel like the balancing has just they've done so much with the balancing, and the content was just so great that it just pulled me back in, and I just want to play more of it. I want to get those characters up. I want to do a little bit more min-maxing. So I bumped mine up to a B+, looking like the asshole apparently as the low guy, but yeah, B+ for me. So it's all on you, Philbilly. What's your letter grade of Borderlands 3 so far?
Well, I gotta keep you as the asshole, so I give it a solid A, and not an A+, but a respectable solid A, just because, you guys might think I'm just because I'm a fanboy or whatever, which I do love the game, but the reason I give it a solid A is just because of the support that it's been getting. Like, people say Borderlands, some people are claiming Borderlands 2 was a better game, and I don't know if I agree with that, but what I can say is Borderlands 2 did not have the support from the developers that this game has, and I give it a lot of credit because not only does it have support moving forward, but they've actually listened to fans. Like, nobody's like me on Reddit and stuff like that. When they start to see more than, a handful of people talking about an issue or a suggestion, they've actually proved to have been listening. So I feel like the game is still moving forward in a great way, and it's already a good game in my opinion.
All right. Well, I think that's well said by all of us. I am definitely still the asshole, but I totally agree with the support thing. Like I said, that's probably why my grade went up so high. All right, so that brings us to the end of the show, guys. The end of Borderlands, the show 2. I do want to say next week we will be, again, at kind of a weird schedule. So if you want to get your fan tractions in, you only have about 24 to 36 hours to get it in before we record. And next week we are doing a review of 2019. Me and Logan are going to look back at 2019 and all our favorite games and all of our favorite screw-ups. And really, we're just going to talk like idiots for an hour. That's basically what we do every time. So,
pretty much.
Phil, thanks for being with us. Thanks for sharing your Borderlands knowledge and your unique perspective. Do you have anything to promote?
The only thing I want to throw out there is I've been thinking about, and I've mentioned it to Zach, is since I like the min-maxing, and there's guys that obviously are making livings making the YouTube videos, I've been thinking about doing some builds that's going to help me figure out how to capture and stuff, because I'm terrible with computers and stuff, and throwing it up on your guys' horrible YouTube, if you guys are interested in that.
I would love nothing more than to have your stuff on Old Man Gaming. I want Old Man Gaming to become more than just me forcing my friends to do stuff. So so this is great. That's great. And I definitely help you capture. And yes, I want those builds. I think those things get a lot of clicks too. And I like the clicks. Not to be Randy Pitchford about it, but I'm all about the clicks. Logan, do you got anything to promote?
I do not.
All right. Well, then I'll take it away with my giant amount of promotions, as always. Mondays are my reviews. You can check out this last Monday. I did Borderlands DLC, the paid DLC. This upcoming Monday, I will be doing Untitled Goose Game. You may check back on my channel for my dumb playthrough of The Outer Wilds every Tuesday, and then my playthrough of Borderlands 3 with, you guessed it, Philbilly 330 every Wednesday. Every Wednesday we don't forget anyway. And then Fridays, you know it, right here, the podcast every week. We're managing to do it through the holidays. I'm very proud of us. And of course, you can listen to it audio everywhere the day before on Thursday. So thank you guys for continuing to come back and watching this. Thank you guys for continuing to enjoy this. I hope everybody had a great Christmas. And I just want to say, have a Happy New Year, because this is the last show before Happy New Year. Happy New Year. True. Happy 2020. Happy Future Day. So, that's it, guys. We'll see you next week.